Editor-in-Chief of the current affairs magazine International Interest. He's also a geopolitical risk consultant, and he joins us live now from London. Thank you so much for joining us, Sami. Former President George W. Bush says Donald Rumsfeld never paled before tough decisions, the toughest of which, of course, include the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. How critical was his role in starting those two divisive and intractable wars?
I think he was crucial. I think he was a main advocate for a war in Afghanistan and for the war in Iraq. He was a main advocate in punishing the region for the actions of a lunatic that was Osama bin Laden. He was a clear advocate for ensuring that there would be no rational debate in the US over how to react to 9/11 without punishing an entire region who themselves condemned the actions of Osama bin Laden. He was integral in creating this straw man enemy in Iraq and in Afghanistan for an American public that wanted to see some sort of punishment for somebody, irrespective of how associated they might be with Al-qaeda or with Osama bin Laden. And I think one of the biggest evidences of this is that not only was he an advocate for attacking Afghanistan, where Osama bin Laden was known to have had operations, but also attacked Iraq, which had nothing to do with Al-qaeda or Osama bin Laden in any shape or form whatsoever, and in fact was merely about trying to assert US power on a region that was increasingly becoming disillusioned in the same year with US power. You'll remember that Saudi Arabia was threatening to cut off ties with the US. So Donald Rumsfeld, we should not underplay his role. He was absolutely integral and fundamental, and I think it's exceptionally striking that he passes away in the same year that the US leaves Afghanistan ignominiously, humiliated and defeated, and that now it is seeking to divvy up Iraq with Iran, given that it has failed to achieve any of the objectives that Donald Rumsfeld envisaged when he was planning these wars.
Can I ask you more about the Iraq invasion? Because Donald Rumsfeld argued that Iraqi weapons of mass destruction posed a danger to the world, but of course no such weapons were ever found. He never expressed any regret or remorse about the US decision to invade Iraq. Is that something he should have ultimately regretted?
I think it's something that he regretted personally, but not necessarily publicly. I think he regretted the manner in which it unfolded, and I think that's reflected in the way that he resigned in 2006 after the humiliation of the actions of US troops against the Iraqis. But I don't think he necessarily regretted the assertion and exertion of US force on the region, this idea of exerting US power for all to see in the world on Iraq and on Afghanistan. I don't think he regretted channeling that American anger against a region that had nothing to do with Osama bin Laden or indeed the actions that took place in 9/11. And I think for Iraq, everybody knows there were no weapons of mass destruction. Everybody knows that the US bulldozed the UN in order to secure those resolutions and unilaterally invaded, and the international community sort of went along with the Americans with the gung-ho approach, given that Bush and Rumsfeld had threatened the world that you're either with us or against us. Either you're with us or we invade you too. And therefore, when we look at the Iraq example, I think it's more obvious with the Iraq example than the Afghanistan example that this was all about exertion of American power. Iraq had nothing to do with Al-qaeda. It had nothing to do with Osama bin Laden. It didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Its economy was in a dire straits. Saddam Hussein was isolated. There was no need to invade Iraq. And it was within this concept that Donald Rumsfeld had of American exceptionalism. That's the attitude with which he pursued these invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan. And his legacy will last for decades to come. This cycle of hate, this cycle of bloodshed, the expansion of drone strikes that not Obama, nor Trump, nor Biden were able to undo, no matter whatever intentions they expressed before. Obama, even though he killed Osama bin Laden, could not withdraw those troops from Iraq and Afghanistan. Trump, for all the talk of withdrawing US troops, kept troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, albeit he started the process of withdrawing troops from Afghanistan. And now Biden is awkwardly withdrawing the US troops and trying to do so in a manner that doesn't suggest that the US has been defeated.
Sami Hamdi, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you again for joining us on TRT World.